All right, good morning. This is North Watcom Fire District 21 special meeting, May 14th. All right, start with roll call on Bruce Ansel, Sean Crombie,
Greg Anthony,
Tony Malillo,
Joel Nielsen,
Matt Rigberg,
Jason Vanderbeek.
All right, any public comment? All right, we'll open the Volunteer Pension Board meeting. And we have the approval of the April 17th minutes. Is there a motion?
so moved.
second.
Moved, seconded. Away we go. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any other business for the volunteer pension? Okay, we'll adjourn the Volunteer Pension Board and open the regular Board of Commissioners meeting with a start and welcome of our new Deputy Chief, Tony Malillo. Would you like to do the honors, Chief?
Yes. So, Board, I'd like to introduce you to Deputy Chief Tony Malillo, who joined us on May 1st. It's been a pleasure to have him on board. I can already sense that he's going to be an immediate asset to the district. He's already been an immediate asset to the district. Trying to throttle his enthusiasm a little bit. We don't want to burn him out too early. But he's been spending his time getting to know the crews, getting to know the battalion chiefs, the lay of the land, the operation, and really what I asked him to start with was a listening tour. And let's hear about what we're doing good, what we're not doing good, and we'll sit down and take a look at his job description versus what he's hearing out there, and we'll see what we're going to tackle first. He's been well received by the crews. People are excited to have him on the floor. They're excited for the future. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to hire and promote someone to this level. So, thank you.
Welcome, Chief.
Thank you.
Any words of wisdom before we go any further?
No words of wisdom. Thank you for the job. That's very excited to have this different challenge, and like Chief said, I'm really encouraged by the warm welcome that comes from the board and all the way down to the line staff. It's been great to get to know people a little bit more and start digging into a couple of things. So appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Well, I know we've been talking about getting some relief for the fire chief here for a long time, and it's finally come to pass. So welcome, and I'm sure he's got a bucket full of stuff for you to do. All right, the next item is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes, staff reports, financial reports, and voucher payroll benefits. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Is there any questions, comments, discussion? Chief, is there anything in your report that isn't going to be covered somewhere else?
For all intents and purposes, it came apart when being retracted. We had an estimator from an outfit called Fire Trucks Unlimited look at it yesterday, and there is actually right now there's a metallurgical engineer looking at it this morning. That's from the insurance company. We did submit it to the insurance because there was no specific damage that happened. It wasn't run into anything. It was being retracted, and the evaluate placing it into service. We looked at what did it need to be a frontline truck, and I made the determination that it was going to cost too much for us to put it in service. It's based on if insurance does not approve this claim and we have to pay for it, the money we're going to spend to put ladder 61 in service for a period of time in order to get ladder 63 back in service is not money well spent. So I made the decision that we will rely on mutual aid from other agencies, interim That being said, you'll see a surplus for ladder 60, a surplus resolution for ladder 61 coming in the next month or so. By the next meeting, 3 is covered by insurance, and B, whether we make the determination to go ahead and get it replaced. I don't even want to spitball the cost of what it's going to, or sorry, not replaced, but repaired. I don't even want to spitball the cost of what it's going to cost to get repaired. It would have to be transported to this company's facility in Henderson, Nevada, and that would be by Lowboy. So it's going to be an expensive bill to get replaced.
How old is it?
Ladder 63 is 18 years old. So it's coming to the end of its service life.
How old is 61?
Ladder 61 is over 20 years old. It's in 1998. So that's where we're at with the ladder.
And ladder 61 didn't have water, didn't have a pump.
It is a true truck.
It's a true truck.
It is not
Nothing we need.
nothing we need and nothing we're used to operating with. We've always operated under what's a quint. So it at least got a small starter, small starter tank and a pump. It can be cross-staffed by a crew of 3. Ladder 61 would take more of what I would call a light force type deployment, where you have an engine married to that ladder. It would drastically change the operation of us at a fire where we used an elevated master stream. It's not something we're used to dealing with. It's frankly more of a big city operation. And that's where we got the truck. That's where we got that truck from. That ladder did cost us $1. It was, frankly, we bought it or we traded for it, quite frankly, to help with our WSRB rating. But to place it into actual service is just not.
Is that from Bellingham?
Yes. The other piece I wanted to update that I got at post writing that is our capital improvement CIP project that we submitted to the legislature. Capital improvement project request. Thank you. Was not approved. Turns out none of them were. So,
Not surprised.
nope. But I got that word early this week, Monday of this week, that
Or at least we heard back
our project did not survive. Yeah. So,
more than some of the others.
yes.
All right, well, we might have to figure out a solution to our radio problem at some point. Bake sale. Bake sale. We'll call it bake sale. All right, so in other items in the consent agenda, I will read the amounts. So the total revenue in April is nice, $2,810,185.15. Keeps us out of drawing from reserves. Total expenditures $938,312.89. Direct deposit payroll $444,634.90. Payroll taxes $105,593.88. Benefits voucher $273,554.33. Monthly expenditure voucher $111,436.09. And capital projects voucher $3,093.69. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you. And then I guess we're,
Mexican Davis to answer any questions or maybe give a briefer explanation than I could ever do on this no man's land that's been discovered in District 21. And before I talk for the next 15
by the district and Canada, but there's no ability for the district in the district. And that contract might just reference the levy, the equivalent levy rate, and that would be the contractual payment. So they are covered by a contract, or having them annex into the jurisdiction. That process can go through an election like any annexation, but because this is a smaller area, annexation by petition is the more likely method for properties to annex. Properties to annex here. That requires 60%, a petition signed by 60% contract, the process to go that you'll be required to go through to annex properties is also involves costs. And so it's both a question for the board as to what you will permit, and a question for the property owner as to what they prefer to do. But in the status quo, you won't collect taxes from these properties, and you're not required to respond within this area, although the district can respond within these areas if it would like. And the statute says that they should be reimbursed, at least for their fire response, of their actual costs of going into these areas until such time that they have a contract or they're annexed into the district. I guess I'll leave it there if that's a high-level summary. And Chief, do you want to speak to the financial impact that the county's discussed with you?
Yes. So currently that the tax revenue that comes in from the properties that are taxed in that area is a little over $16,000 annually. So that
For the fire service or just for total?
that's based on the levy rate, the current levy rate. That's what that AV brings in to the fire district. The AV of there's 52 parcels in there. Not all of them are improved, but the improved ones that pay taxes to the fire district, it's a total of 16,672 annually.
So they're currently paying, is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct.
But now that we've discovered this, they don't have to pay anymore, and we would have to pay them back.
Correct.
I believe it's a statute of limitations of approximately 3 years, but because of way tax cycles work, it's really 2 years of a refund. Believe it or not, this happens more frequently than you'd imagine, and there's a whole statute designed for these administrative mistakes. And so there will be a refund. It sounds like the assessors have kind of agreed with our analysis. And with that refund, there's the ability for the district to do a refund levy. So to collect the amounts that you have to refund from your future, from properties in the future.
Which would be assessed to the whole district or just that area?
Not that area. Yeah, the whole district. So you would have an additional levy amount for next year of the current of who now exists in the district's properties to make up that refund that you make. Let's say it's $30,000 for 2 years. That $30,000 would be something additional you could collect from your taxpayers.
And that can be done by a motion of the board without any other crazy things to happen? Sorry.
Yes, that would be done when we set the levy rate, or when we set
So
the
we
budget.
would have the statutory authority to adjust our levy rate to collect that amount from the remaining.
That happens.
We have been providing service to that area, however,
Correct.
so it's not like they haven't been benefiting from the fire district, correct? I mean,
Yes. I can't speak to whether we've had incidents at those parcels, but I can tell you that they've been in our they're in our coverage area. They're in our block files.
Yeah, we don't like, oh, don't go over that line.
We don't do that.
So if there's a call today, we're going,
Yes, sir.
because we haven't changed anything.
Correct.
Does anybody out there know the risk of losing their service?
If the board were to tell me to stop, were to order us to stop providing services, I'd counsel against that, but I'll do what you tell me. I'm not going to direct our crews to stop providing service until that order came. I believe there's a chance for us we need to make the homeowners aware first, or the property owners aware first, and then give them all the information and let them figure out what to do with it. One thing I would say, and Mr. Paxton, correct me if I'm wrong, is yes, we have the ability, we need to refund this money if that's what they choose and move forward with an agreement. That's going to cost staff time, and I would highly recommend that we add an administrative fee to the levy rate that we offer these people if they want to continue forward with individual contracts. That's going to take staff time to do, and I don't think that's above and beyond what our office does. That's what the county assessor's office does, not us. So, but I also feel strongly that we should really only move forward on the petition method. I don't see why the district should pay money. It would cost more to put this on the ballot for the district than we would get out of it in annual revenue. So I think the petition method's the most logical method to move forward. That might take having a public meeting and talking to the property owners all at once so they understand how this all works. I'm sure there'll be questions, but that's how I think we should move forward is first by sending the letter, which Mr. Paxton and I we're pretty close to a final. We got one initially from the law firm. I actually shared it with the assessor's office because I wanted them to know what we could potentially be sending out. They had one of their attorneys send some recommendations, and I just have the last couple lines, I think, to go through to get it nailed down.
Is there an established administrative charge that the district
We
can
don't
stand
have that.
behind?
No. We don't have anything set like that. We've never done it. To my knowledge, we've never done anything like this.
So one path forward could be that as a landowner, I'm going to get the choice to enter into a contract with the district and pay an administrative fee for some period of time. And then at the same time, I'm going to do everything I can to get you to include my parcel in your district. So going forward, I'm going to be paying the levy rate without an administrative fee.
Correct.
So one path, I'm paying more until I can get off that path, and then I'm back in the district, everything's fine.
Correct.
I would think that if I was a landowner in that particular case, I'd be much more amenable to the fire department if you're telling me all this without the necessarily saying, and if you don't do it by September the 2nd, this is going to happen. I hope that we can go through a kind and friendly correction to this administrative issue and be done with it.
100% agree. I think, yeah, what this is, I think both the district and the property owners will have the same interest in getting this fixed quickly, I would imagine.
And to the point about, because of this mistake, our levy rate is wrong this year. And that's why we get to fix it next year. Because of the 1% that we go through, the assessed valuation of the district is actually less than in the last calculation.
Yes, those properties represent just a little over $24 million worth of our assessed valuation.
Have they not been included in the AV then?
They have been.
They have been.
They have been. So, I mean, it currently running as if they're part of us and they're being taxed as part of us, and we're assuming their assessed value as our overall assessed value of the district.
Correct.
And we've been receiving funds for them.
Yeah.
ever since 2006 or 2011 or whatever the magic date is,
It's 1949.
1949, but legally, we're all only on the hook if somebody wants to raise their hand and say, I want my money back. There's a legal limit to how far back you can go.
Yes, sir. This year and the last 2 years.
So there's no harm to the district. The only harm is if I, as a homeowner in the district, found out that I'm having to pay an extra $12 next year because somebody in Whatcom County made a mistake when they drew a map. Other than that, the district's not gonna be out any money.
So moving forward, we send all the property owners a notice, yes?
Yes.
Explaining what's happened and what their options are. And then do we hold a special meeting and invite them to come and talk to us, or?
That's what I'd like to do is have a 1 or 2 evening meetings where they could come, and myself and probably the board chair would be here to answer questions.
I'd like to see the assessor there as well.
From 1948?
The current one.
And I did ask them if they said, well, yeah, we'll check the schedule, which
Oh, yeah.
I know what that means.
Yeah,
We'll get back to it.
they created this problem, so I'd like to see them there as well.
So that we can have them, have their questions answered. And maybe good idea to work with Mr. Paxton on a one-pager that we could pass out to them. That I haven't done this and I haven't talked to any chiefs that have, so that sounds like it's more common than it's not, but I haven't encountered this before, so.
So are we missing anything here, Mr. Paxton, as far as moving forward with this?
I think when you consider the petition method, it's helpful to understand some of the process. So the first step is you have a petition that gets submitted. That petition has a map on it, right? And it has that map, 60% of those areas need to be signing this petition. So the first question is okay, how big of an area? Are we only considering an annexation of this entire area? Or would we consider a piecemeal fashion? But let's assume it's the entire area. Then there's going to be a way to manage those tasks. And I think a question for the board would be who forever included in our boundaries, and who pays for that cost if they're, because there certainly will be a cost of going through that process. So that's a question I would have for the board in terms of how do we, if we are going to do a petition for annexation, how is that process going to be managed?
Is there an opportunity to have the county take care of this? Since it might have been there, this isn't a Scrivener's error, right? This is
It's called a manifest error.
since it was potentially their manifest error, is that an option?
Yeah, if the county would agree. I don't know that we have like legal leverage to require them to. I don't think that we do. So if they would be willing to participate in that, I think it's reasonable and fair. As far as I know, this error was not the district's, fault that these taxes started being assessed without our knowledge or consent. We never adopted a legal description of the district to include that area. So, but it'll be up to you guys to negotiate with that with the county.
And who ultimately discovered this problem? Was it the county that,
The county, yes. And I believe it was the county auditor's office that discovered it and alerted the assessor's office.
so the county most likely has all the maps, the county most likely has the property descriptions and the boundaries and the taxing parcels and the history. Wouldn't it make sense, sorry to use that word, that they move this forward on everyone's behalf? Is that an illogical request?
And perhaps one with the assessor that was incorrect. And the two departments not talking to each other until 2025 on this issue is frustrating.
So what other options for service do those residents have besides us? Nothing.
That's what they call it, no man's land.
Yeah, exactly.
It's deep into the district. There's no,
Right. All right, any other comments, questions?
The landowners are they have to have fire protection. Their mortgages depend on them having insurance. And insurance requires them to have fire protection. So, I mean, unless their rates are really gonna go up. So they're gonna be motivated to fix this too. They have to be. The last thing we want to do is to do anything that mistakenly ends up with 12 landowners in and 5 out. Because then one of us has got to take a black paint can and put an X in front of those 5 driveways. Never works out. Or we could have a real nice sign that says, leaving Whatcom County Fire and Rescue District. So I think reasonable people will do reasonable things. So getting to 60% if you have to, we got to get them all in. You just can't do part of them. Because we put the troops on the engines in a tough spot trying to figure out who gets saved and who doesn't. The county EMS has been collecting the county EMS money. So I call the county up and say, hey, Mr. EMS manager, what are you going to do for these people? Because we're not providing them service. And yet they're paying into the county EMS fund. It just, the rabbit hole gets bigger as you go down. So I have high hopes that the chief will be able to get the folks out there to take the easiest path forward. It irks me a little bit that I'm going to have to pay $12 next year more because of a clerical error. But I think getting into a dispute with them about can you get your money back or not is just a waste of time in our process. So good luck, chief.
I will reach out to the assessor's office and have that discussion about how the process can get paid for by their in-house. I mean, that's something they do all the time.
Right, they have
So,
staff
they have
that
staff
can
to
do
that. So
I mean, they
that's what,
obviously had staff that found it. They should, I mean, we would have to start all over and basically ask them for all the information that they already have.
I'm happy to do the
I'm
leg.
hopeful that they would see that that would be the smart thing.
I'm happy to do the legwork and contact the property owners, answer any questions over the phone that I can. But we need them to do the SEPA piece and
Right.
do the, help us with the lot descriptions or the property descriptions for the boundary review board. And if they can grease those wheels, we can do the rest.
What period of time do we have to rectify this? And is the expectation that it is ours 100% to fix?
View of the county, it's ours to fix.
Okay.
It's not their problem. That's why they called me to tell me about it.
Okay. What period of time now do we have to fix this before we start accruing financial liability for issues that can pop up?
There's no, we are bound to inform them that we've discovered this anomaly, or this mistake, and offer them the refund. They will not be charged taxes in 2026. None of these, any improved properties on these 52 parcels, they are now on a list that will not be charged taxes. So if they choose not to get a refund for this year, or take any of the past refunds, then as far as I'm concerned, they have fire service. They're gonna have fire service irregardless. They've paid for their service through the rest of the year. We need to do an agreement with them in 2026. If somebody comes immediately and says, I want my past taxes back, then we need to have, prior to that, we need to have a contract for services in place and a board-approved administrative fee attached to that, so that we can, okay, if you want your refund, if you want fire service, which we will not back out, but this is what you need to sign to continue for your mortgage and all those things. We need to have all that in place beforehand. I'm saying we should be able to.
Or when?
August, I would say, get all those pieces in play. If I try to think how quickly I want to do it versus how quickly I can reasonably do it, I'm going to say August. And then I don't know how long the petition method will take. It may be that we have to charge, do individual contracts through 2026. My view would be as if we are if we are in the petition method and we're moving through the process, maybe we drop the administrative fee for 2026 and have them pay the regular levy rate and get it completed in 2026.
And that's, the petition method is for annexation, correct?
Correct. What I don't want to do is to put an annexation vote on the ballot, because now we're having to pay to put that in all the publications on the vote for 52 parcels, which they're not even 52 individual property owners. There's probably 40 property owners amongst those 52 parcels.
But there's no requirement that we do that.
No.
You can voluntarily go through the process of annexing in the fire department, and we want all of you. Or option B, it's not on us. We don't have to go through a process to have an election. They can just stay on their own.
Yep.
So there's some leverage is a hard word, but leverage with a small L on everybody's part to figure this out.
I agree. It's all or nothing. We don't want to manage 15 contracts every year.
And if for some crazy reason they say all of them or majority say no, and they call for service, then we charge them the true cost of providing that service.
Go off the DNR list. Yep.
So, I mean, it might behoove us to have an estimate when we have the discussions with them of what if that, well, yeah, you can call and it's gonna cost $5,000 for us to come put out your illegal fire.
Well, that'll be an interesting discussion, because as a resident of the district, I'm more interested in the equipment being available for the use of the district residents than renting it out to the 17 parcels or whoever. So I don't view us as a pay for service kind of department.
We don't want to get into that.
So
'Cause again,
that'll be an interesting discussion. We go, if we have a discussion at the board level sometime in the future, worst case scenario is say, okay, are we going to provide them service and charge them a fee when we go? Right now, my view of the world is, no, we're not going. I don't want aid card number 61 going out here. it's a tough world and they have a lot of great ways to fix this as property owners. Let's go through and get it fixed. Otherwise, you're gonna sit there and say, I think I'll roll the dice. I won't pay any money, I won't get in the district, and if somebody has to come out, gee whiz, I'm gonna have to pay, I guess.
All right. Do we need any action from the board today?
No.
Good luck, chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Paxton, any other closing comments for us, or I'm assuming that you're available to assist the chief in either crafting the letters or whatever we need to send out to the property owners?
Yes, I think we've covered everything.
All right. Thank you for being here today and enlightening us on this issue. All right. Next up, commissioner meeting reports. Anybody got anything?
Well,
Chief?
City of Blaine,
Okay.
the attended a meeting last month when they made it clear that they started the process to eliminate one of their UGAs and talked about, we even saw it in the paper, about going to the Semiahmoo area for medium density, I think they said, housing, the UGA out there. I'm extremely interested to watch this process go through because the Semiahmoo area has water issues, sewer issues, response issues, response time issues. There's a lot of things involved here that it'll be interesting to watch them go through the process and understand how they're going to handle it. It won't take much to have.
How they got from there to where we are now, when it seemed like they weren't feeling very positive about that. Do you have any idea?
No. Well, the idea is, we're going to talk about it from time to time, is the TIF capturing the increment,
Yeah.
the increment of assessed valuation for 20 years, which absolutely cut us off from a revenue flow. Sometimes I look at the financials and I think that we probably almost get as much in mitigation fees annually for new development as we get for a 1% increase. So to add on into what is appearing more and more to be a pretty heavily populated area between Semiahmoo down through Birch Bay, there's a lot of people over there. So
It was for medium to high density as well as manufacturing was part of the proposal. I have no idea what manufacturing they could be referring to there for that area.
I believe the
mobile home
manufacturing,
without wheels.
the acreage that they designated for manufacturing is actually the area around this station. So residential only on the west side over by Semiahmoo, and the area that surrounds this station is what they designated for manufacturing.
That's good.
That's what I read. So,
Okay.
Don, anything?
The community breakfast was a great success. And I want to thank the local for funding it, and a shout out to the fire science students who were a tremendous help, and all the volunteers who showed up to clean and set up and serve and then clean up and get everything returned where it was borrowed from. A special thanks to Jenny Sand and Kat Stewart and Cody Bowen for all their help getting it planned and organized, and I really appreciate it. It took a village. It was a great team effort.
Still monitoring the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee. We had a report from Birch Bay Water and Sewer. Interestingly, their recommendation was if there was a potential to expand the UGA in the Birch Bay area, it would be more towards the refinery than up on Point Whitehorn, which is the area that the city of Blaine is looking at very carefully. To provide sewer to that Point Whitehorn area would require a significant amount of investment and pump stations and upgrade of the existing line that runs along Birch Bay right now, because it's almost at capacity. So if you add, you know, another whole area and try to push all of that stuff down the small pipe, it's not going to fit. So, and on top of their planning for future sea level rise, which will ultimately put that sewer pipeline underwater, and it's got to be moved in the next 20 or 30 years. Otherwise, an example they gave was like a normal flow for them is like 700,000 gallons a day. In November of 21, where we had the king tide and flood and washed roads out, they, because of intrusion from the excess water into the sewer system, they hit 4.1 million gallons, and their system is not designed to handle that capacity. So, the infrastructure in this community is not just isolated to the fire department. It's water and sewer and roads and everyone else. So our committee is recommending to the county upgrade to the, or rewriting of the comp plan is to support Birch Bay Water and Sewer's recommendation that the UGA boundary for the Birch Bay community be that south area, closer. I think it would be kind of the Bay Road, not probably as far as Kickerville, but in that vicinity. It's closer to their treatment plant. It's uphill from the treatment plant. That would be way more cost effective and fewer pump stations and less overall long-term maintenance to have the development go closer to their.
Make sure they use the right now.
Yeah. I've seen 3 or 4 different versions, so we'll go from there. All right, that's all I have. Local 106, anything?
Hello.
So much.
Did not have a-
Matt, did you have a
That's
report?
tonight at 7 o'clock is the all county meeting.
That's what I thought. But thanks for asking.
Thanks, Karen. I feel included now.
Right. Bye.
106.
Yes, thank you. With the promotion of Mr. Melillo, we have an opening for vice president at the union level for the county. Scott Brown filled that role. So I am filling Scott Brown's role as the unit chair. And tomorrow night we'll find out who the new number 2 is. We have a vote tomorrow. Just to reiterate, thank you for the pancake feed, for all your support and the board's support, setup and help. And it was a success and it was fun to all get together. We have the ski to sea coming up. The local 106 has a couple teams racing in that. And we've already been included in one meeting for Sean Ward's memorial. So we are willing to help in any way we can.
Yes, thank you for reminding us of that. I guess we should have that in our announcement section for this meeting as well. So just, Scott is no longer part of
Correct.
this unit's.
Scott is now in charge of all county units for local 106.
And is that the position you held before?
Yeah, so Scott will be still doing our contract, leading the contract negotiations for us as well this year as
Everybody else.
everybody else,
Yeah.
all the other county units.
District 1, South Wacom, and the Port of Bellingham.
Yep.
And Linden all have their contracts up this year.
Yeah. So
Very,
Scott's gonna
very
be a
busy.
busy man.
Yeah.
So we wish him well.
Yeah. And then you'll have an election to fill your
To
position.
fill my position, and I stepped up to unit chair.
Okay.
So yeah, Scott will still be assisting me, and we'll have one more new face officially on 106
Is
North
that
Wacom.
through nomination then?
Yep.
And that hasn't opened yet?
It's open. We have so far one person put in, and we'll see if anybody declares tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire Marshal report.
Yes. Start off, Chris Hollander and I attended training last week over in Leavenworth for the International Association of Arson Investigators. Class I took was on the psychology behind interviewing witnesses at fire scenes and doing interviews of suspects, for like possible arsons, and also prepping for courtroom testimony. Chris attended the basic class for fire investigation, so it's the first step in him becoming a certified fire investigator with Washington State. So the next step for him will be a written test, a practical test, and a courtroom testimony. And because he got the basic class out of the way now, he's all fit tested, we can start bringing him out to fire investigation scenes, which is exciting. Get some more help with that. Just some information that's come down from the city, like the council meeting. The Lincoln Muse, the council decided to change the, what it's called. It's what they can put on the property for Lincoln Muse. It was basically single family. Now they've gone to multifamily, so they can make it a little more dense. So increasing the number of residents they can put in that piece of property up there, just up north of the station here on the west side of Odell Road at 8th Street. Family Care Network, their building has now been signed off. They're ready for occupancy, and they're going to start moving in here soon. They're planning on opening up the clinic somewhere around June 16th is their projected date. It's kind of exciting. We have a doctor's office here in Blaine again. Looking forward to that. Just like with us, the city is also coming into some financial difficulties with less traffic coming across the border. They're losing out on a lot of sales tax, and they projected they're going to be several $1 million in the hole in a couple of years. So they're going to start trying to figure out which projects that they can start, cutting from their budget. And the one they're looking at right now is the street improvements on 8th Street. They're planning on dumping a lot of money into that, and they're going to see if they can delay the contracts. They're checking into that right now, see what kind of legal ramifications there are to break contracts there. Other than that, they approved their final plat for the Ridge. It's going to be another 10 of the townhome units. So it's going to be 40 residents up there in their last. It's their Division 5 area that they're going to be adding on to next. So they're progressing with more building up there at the Ridge. And that's about all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Anybody?
Thank you.
All right, unfinished business. We have Birch Bay Station 63, and we had a RFQ, which one?
You want me to start, Chief, or?
Yeah, sorry. Yes. So yeah, you saw an RFQ in the packet.
Yes.
As we discussed last month, Dave Ralston has come on board to help us. And I'm going to turn it over to him to just give a brief synopsis of where he's at, where he's drugged me.
Yeah, I just, real quick, I'll just, I worked with the district about 3 years ago, helping out in negotiating their current contract with the local. That was 3 years ago, and so Chief contacted me here last month in regards to their station project at Birch Bay. That look at as a project manager for it. I understand all of the different works that he's trying to do, and the stuff is it's time consuming. So I've offered to go ahead and help. my experience on some of that. Was part of the Geneva station, when we rebuilt that station back in 2001. And then I've also done some work, when we had, Station 28, we did an add-on to a building there. So I've got some experience in it. I'm no way an expert in any of that, but as a project manager, you're more of a facilitator and looking at stuff, and you got to be able to recognize stuff. So I think I can do that with that. The first thing that we did here was, as Chief mentioned, we sent out a request for qualifications, as required by the state auditor to comply. What's unique about that is we don't actually get any bids from anybody like a dollar amount. We actually have the opportunity as a board to choose an architect that you want to enter into a contract with. That went out last week. I sent it out to 5 different architects here. I think there were 3 in Bellingham and 2 in Seattle. I had one in the architect firms in Seattle's already notified me they're too busy. They're not going to be able to bid on it. So, but locally here, we've got some interest, and that process will close for submit for qualifications, I think, on June the 12th. Then we'll have an opportunity to review the qualifications, how we do.
Any questions?
Not this time.
So cost estimates will come after the architect is selected and decides what it is.
And that's where we would ask them to give us a timeline when they would expect that. Yeah, so, and with that, there'll be several options. There could be, whether we put a modular unit in, whether you remodel the one tier. There's a lot of different things that we'll be able to get some cost estimates on.
Great. Well, it's nice to see that project moving forward, and thank you for coming in and helping us out. And hopefully the troops can see we are pushing the ball forward. Anything else, Chief?
Thank you for letting us reach out to Chief Ralston.
Yeah, nice to have you back. District 4 annexation.
There's been no movement on the District 4 annexation. It's not even on the agenda for City Council. You can interpret that any way you want to. District 4 has sent a letter to the mayor asking to enter a formal negotiation regarding the 60% question in the 1997 agreement. And what is we need to clean that up, and how do we make that determination? I'm sure Chief Ralston's interested in how that'll work as well. So the letter went out last Thursday. I will reach out and schedule a meeting with them, and we'll get started on how that looks. I'm sure it'll be an interesting conversation.
And that is through their attorney, Mr. Quitt.
Mr. Quitt. Yeah.
Any questions on that?
No.
Any other unfinished business? New business? Any new business?
No, we
Anyone
don't have
have
anything.
any items? Correspondence is in our packet. Our next board meeting is Friday, June 20th, because June 19th is a holiday.
It's already in my calendar somehow. I'm not good. I anticipated
Is
it.
that good? Either new hire chiefs, newly promoted captains, and new firefighters. So it will be a family event, a Class A event. It will be light refreshments. We'll have a cup of coffee for you, Commissioner Anthony.
What time?
6:30. We'll have tea and water for everybody else.
Excuse me, 18, 6:30. How exciting. It's been a while since
Yeah.
anything like that has happened.
And then also wanted to point out Sean Ward's memorial service will be held May 31st at 1 p.m. at North County Christ the King Church in Linden.
Is there anything we need from the board to help with any of that?
We're good to go. State's helping out. The union's doing a lot of heavy lifting for that.
And just, we saw the correspondence from the state for the fallen firefighters to include Leslie
June
Smith.
22nd, Sunday, June 22nd, she'll go on the wall at the state firefighters memorial.
All right. Next meeting, we'll have Station 63 update, hopefully approval of selecting an architect.
Hopefully a recommendation to the board to
Right.
an architect or enter into a contract with them.
Bruce,
Sir.
in that vein, is it too soon to start talking about the budgeting aspects of that? Will we have enough information by our next meeting to discuss that somewhere in there as well? No? Okay.
No, that was my question is we won't have any idea on,
Till June?
well, probably. I mean, you're talking about the cost of that project?
How are we gonna sustain it? Yeah.
That will come once we get an estimate of what our options
Sure.
would be, and it would probably be
July
like,
is
we can
maybe,
afford this, we can't afford
Right.
that, we can do this, we can't do that.
Yeah, but the uniqueness of it is that the district has to go under contract. Bidding requirement, we've got to select an architect to work with, and then they will provide that information. And until we actually have an architect to let us know how long it would take to get some estimates, we just don't know yet.
Right.
I hope it's sooner than later, but realistic, maybe.
Next year sometime?
Maybe we hire them in June, maybe sometime by the end of summer. I would hope that we could have some kind of preliminary numbers to move forward with for budgeting.
Which would fall into 2026 budget planning anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
What else do we want? We got anything more with D4? I guess that's, let us know.
Maybe it's to let you know when anything happens. Yeah.
Right,
We'll know about the ladder.
Yep, ladder 63 might be a good.
update. And you're recommending surplusing ladder 61, so we'll have a
That resolution.
resolution to the surplus. Anyone else got any thoughts or ideas for next meeting?
Oh, update on the no man's land.
Thank you.
Thank Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny.
And then we have a need for executive session as we prepare to go into negotiations with the local this year. So that is per RCW.
Should we say noon then?
That's a good idea.
Let's go for 20 minutes. We'll take, if anybody needs a brief break here, we'll take a 5-minute break and then go into executive session and return at noon. Fair enough? So we'll cut the video.
Just to let you
need of more time for executive session, so we had to reconvene to extend executive session for another 5 minutes. So we'll go ahead and All right, reconvene after executive session. There'll be no action, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Rigberg had to leave for another meeting. So all in favor of adjourn? Unanimous? We need to sign documents and be out of here.